Shrink the Nation is a podcast for thoughtful, informed adults, preferably with a pour in hand. The views and opinions expressed on the show are those of the hosts and guests only, and do not reflect the views of any employers, institutions, licensing boards, government agencies, bourbon distilleries, or family members, especially our family members. They've asked us to be very clear about that. This show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing said here should be taken as medical, psychiatric, legal, or professional advice. If you're in crisis, call a professional. If you're mad at something we said, we suggest journaling or emailing us with civility. We're here to challenge ideas, not diagnose strangers. We're clinicians, not your clinicians, and we have the bourbon to prove it. Let's go. All right, we're starting. We are back. Shrink the Nation on the couch with America. This is a special episode, a really special bonus episode. Today's episode is going to be back into the void with notes this time. But even more specialer is that we have a guest. Hopefully, maybe the first of many times that we'll have this particular guest. We have Amit, who is awesome. We'll get to introducing him shortly. We're talking a little bit more about nihilism because, man, you can't get enough nihilism. You just can't.
I agree.
We don't have any Old Crow, but...
No.
I'm probably going to have to...
I thought about getting some for this episode, but decided to do something different.
I think we definitely need an Old Crow episode. I think when you have Old Crow, you're going to say, oh, it tastes like bourbon. You can tell it's not very extensively aged. Maybe has some simplicity to the flavor profile, but it tastes like bourbon.
It was appropriately placed at the very, very bottom of the bourbon shelf with a $10 plastic bottle. Look at
or
that.
Behind, yeah.
Do I want to try this or something else? I'm more of a whiskey person, but for this show, bourbon it is.
Well, I definitely, full disclosure, have two massive bottles of Old Crow.
It's cost effective.
Well, I don't know. Who knows? I have the original, and then I have the more specialer version, whatever. It's like 3.5 liters of Old Crow.
Did you say specialer?
Yes, I did. It is more specialer.
Okay.
Absolutely.
See,
I have the
it's
more
more better
version.
I got it.
It is
the
more
regular
more
version and the higher repriced version.
Yeah. Interestingly, they cost the exact same price, so I'm not sure what makes it better. They're both in plastic bottles. They are enormous. I'll do something with them. At some point, once everybody has some Old Crow, we will bust that out and have a pretty terrible time, I assume.
No.
That's what we're going to do. Sounds like I'm going to be eating crow today.
It's a bourbon rich in history. It has a really interesting history. Yet another the Reverend James Crow.
Dr. James Crow.
Okay, the Reverend Dr. James Crow.
Reverend Dr. Colonel.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll deal with that at another time.
You're absolutely right. It has a really great history that falls off a cliff once it was purchased by Jim Beam. Yeah, absolutely. And we will have an Old Crow show once everybody has some. But I have it. I'm ready. I am ready to go. Whichever version everyone has.
Got it.
But we'll do that. So, introductions. I am David. I am a dual board certified psychiatrist. I have 20 plus years in the military. I'm the tech-y guy. I like the computer stuff. And today, I'm pouring Basil Hayden toast. I have not a damn clue what makes this particular version of Basil Hayden any different from any other version of Basil Hayden, other than it has a slightly different colored bottle.
Couldn't even take the time to Google that, huh?
No.
Yeah, I'm sure you could have.
Toasted wood vanilla.
You could have had a coherent answer with, I don't know, the investment of 15 seconds.
I could have, especially crafted.
It's funny you say that.
Oh, that's what it is.
That's
okay,
exactly what I did, except I just used Gemini.
Yeah. So, Rob, 25 years psychiatry. I have some Bulleit bourbon. It's very popular. It's a rye bourbon. I guess the ryes are my favorites. Supposedly, it only goes back to 1986. Supposedly, Mr. Bulleit, who started the distillery, says that he rediscovered his grandfather's 1860 recipe. It seems a little difficult for me to believe. It is a fine bourbon.
Hey guys, I'm Amit. I'm a adult and child psychiatrist, about 19 years experience, all of it in the military, and I will be joining the show today. And for the sake of the show, I did go out and get myself a brand new bottle of bourbon, and the choice I settled on, which I know nothing about, is the extremely old and respected tin cup distillery in Colorado, which apparently debuted this 14-year aged from American Midwest bourbon in 2022, very, very far back. And so it is, I have to say, it is extremely smooth and fantastic. I am a fan.
14 years. Wow.
64% corn, 32% rye, and then 4% malted barley. So it's got but it's only 84 proof. So it's not, so it's been distilled down with, apparently that's the claim to fame, is the Colorado water, right? The spring water, so mountain water. So that's its claim to fame.
So I'm waiting on somebody to get the Old Forester Prohibition style bourbon. Anyway, it has a ridiculously high alcohol content. We will not make it through this show. You would have to be very strategic about your consumption.
I mean, they started like 160 proof, so, potentially.
Yeah.
That's strong.
I definitely was coming close last time, so I'll pace myself on this particular talk. All right.
Well,
so
I heard that you started the show with 3 glasses in, so yeah.
I started the show definitely more than one in, or at least started the show waiting. I don't know how many, but we were waiting for a while. It's all right. We made it through it.
You made it. You definitely had the pregame. You pregamed in our wait for our colleagues. So, all right, we're doing Back into the Void, a very special episode of Shrink the Nation.
I thought you were going to say Blossom, but okay.
Well, no, I was thinking actually when you said very special episode, I thought immediately of that old Different Strokes episode that was a very special episode in which they had the bicycle man molester, which is an absolutely terrible premise for a sitcom. I mean, it's just horrible.
Very different special.
Yeah, it was a very special.
Well, Rob, if you turn around right now, I have a surprise. I arranged a surprise for you.
Right. Knock, knock. Yeah. It's Mr. Nausbaum, the bicycle man. So anyway.
Was that joke about you have to worry about your prostate exam and the doctor places both his hands on your shoulder?
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on.
Moving on. So no, on this very special bonus episode, we'll have some decompensation. What was the reason to pick this topic again, or at least to revisit it?
I know what you need to do. You need to apologize to all of an entire generation of young people. That's probably what you need to accomplish. What I was thinking on the value to this is that it's a dense topic. It's dense. There's a lot of philosophy behind it, and I thought maybe there's a few areas where I said too many words and didn't have enough meaning, which was an homage to nihilism, I think. But so clarify a few things.
So yes, the reason to swing back around, hit this topic for me would be that going back, listening to our last episode, may have been a little harsh on Gen Z, at least on the surface, without some clarification, right?
A smidge.
All right. Talking about Gen Z as being the most coddled generation, I think can be unfair if I don't give it some context. Does anybody else want to take some blame with me? Amit, you weren't here. So if you would love to share some blame
I listened
for
to
the
it.
crazy stuff I said.
I think there were, there's a lot of stuff, right? There's only so much you can pack. I think, yes, every generation is different. At the same time, Gen Z, they're known for what? Individualism, right? Like, that's kind of the thing. Everything is about, you can do whatever. You have to listen to this or that, right? Things that are happening before don't necessarily apply to us. So there's a lot of independence and strength there as well. But you talk about coddling, and certainly it is a product of the environment, right? Because what's around, what's available, like with mental health, what social scientists tell parents is, hey, go ahead and do everything. Like, this is okay if you give out participation awards, right? This is going to build more resilient teenagers, more resilient children, which is not really true, but that's what's put out there, right? And I think it's a cultural movement that then influences the actual brand of the generation, the brand of the people growing up, right? It's more than just the individual parts.
Nicely stated, David, just because he came in kind of with a scythe and just cut them down, and it was brutal. I mean, it was brutal. It really was. I have to say though, I was so so deeply in nihilism mode, I didn't defend the kids as I should have. But what I kept thinking about how I spent a lot of time with my great grandparents when I was a kid, and they were convinced that Gen X was the most worthless generation of all time. And the fact that we
It
had
might be right.
we had a telephone and TV with 3 channels. They were utterly convinced that it was going to ruin the fabric of us as humans. And this was a telephone that had a rotary dial and a cord. So you couldn't even go far. She was, my grandmother in particular, was just convinced that we were going to lose our communication skills, that we would not go to people's houses because why should we? We can just call them, and made us lazy. We weren't walking as much. So anyway, David, you're in keeping with thousands and thousands of years of prior. I'm sure there was a caveman who was like, those kids and their newfangled bows and arrows, it's going to make them lazy.
If they were just throwing sticks like we used to.
Exactly. We had to chase them down and beat them with a rock.
And this is exactly why I want to bring up the topic, because one, every generation is considered the most coddled generation. The whole point of advancing technologies is to make things a lot easier, right? I would say. So we're getting there, which is great. A point I really want to bring up, though, is that even if they are coddled, it's not their fault that they're being coddled. Who's coddling them? It's the generation raising them that's coddling them. And that is really where I want to get to from this. When you have Gen X and you have the elder millennials who are raising Gen Z, right? That's typically the age group that you had. And what was really special about those groups was that they were that latchkey generation, right? They were that generation of people who were raised, I wouldn't say they were all neglected, but this was my childhood. Was it yours, where you got home, your parents weren't home because they were out working, right? Like that was just normal, and you kind of took care of stuff.
There was no internet. Like you just went out and you did your thing, right? And I remember my parents' big thing was, get the hell inside. Like, it's dinner time. Like, stop playing, right? Get in the house. That was the struggle that they had with me and people around me.
Naturally, when you grow up in that world where your parents aren't around, you have those moments where you say, I'm not going to do that. And this is the discussion I think we've had a lot. And I really wanted to get the take of two people I have a lot of respect for who have really good perspectives on that. And so, Rob, what's your take on? No, it really is. Like, what's your take?
Yeah. I think once I was in medical school, I had a child and adolescent psychiatrist say, you parent as you were parented, or you parent the exact opposite of how you were parented, and both are wrong. So, it's the nature of being a human. You can only give guidance based on either what went well for you or what didn't go well for you or what you imagine would have went well for you. So you're going to give a limited set of advice that is also not necessarily cued to the uniqueness of the human that you're advising. And we probably have made some mistakes. Maybe we have coddled them. Maybe we have, in the interest of not repeating the experiences we had, maybe we have went too far in trying to boost up egos, grandiosity, and in the effort of thinking, gee, this will help. This will make kids realize they're important and they're valuable. And, there's what's the Sesame Street thing? It's like, no, there's only one you and no one else is like you, kind of thing. When in fact, there's a billion of you, buddy. There's nothing special about you. At any rate, so yeah, we've done this. I do think they are facing a significant challenge, a challenge that I would not want, that I worry about for my kids. And I think that if we spared them anything, we didn't. We just delayed it. They're going to experience all the struggle that any other generation experiences. They're going to do it on a different time scale. They're going to do it in their 20s. Maybe that's better. Maybe it'll work out better for them. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to say, the part of it is that, the latchkeys, helicopter parenting, but part of it is also that tiger mom mentality, right? Like, I will do what it needs to be done to make sure my kid has a better chance, right? I will hound that teacher. I will go and harass the instructors until my child gets an A instead of an A minus, right? Or whatever it takes, because they need that in order to do better, to be more successful. And then it becomes how much of that is being done by the parent. I mean, we talk about, this gets into AI again, but looking at things like, hey, who's writing your, I mean, this is, I guess, old terminology now, but who's writing your college entrance essay, right? Like, is it you? Is it your parents? Is it
ChatGPT?
right? Like,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, exactly, right? And then even getting to the point where, I mean, one of my recent assignments have been in a college campus, right? Looking at, okay, let's talk about kind of what you want. Well, my parents filled out my entrance paperwork and my parents, did this. Now that I'm here, like, no, this stuff I do have an issue with, right? I mean, certainly like the stuff comes out that the actual individual is now engaged, right? As opposed to, this was all done for me, and therefore it's very different than what I actually am like, right? The point is, how much of that translates into success for the individual? Maybe nominally to some degree, but when we're talking about resilience, when we're talking about the ability to bounce back, when we're talking about actually knowing what to do, all that suffers, right? I mean, how much confidence do you have if you've never suffered a failure and bounced back from it when you reach that first A minus or a B or a B plus, and then all you've gotten is A's because the teachers are too afraid to give you anything less?
David, prepare to drink. There's a quote.
Quote.
Yeah, James Hollis. James Hollis, he's a Jungian psychoanalyst. He's written a bunch. Highly recommend his works, actually. It's really excellent. At any rate, his quote that I love and I think of frequently when I look at my children and I think, how am I messing you up? I'm not doing it on purpose. I love you. I would kill and or die for you. How am I messing you up? And the quote is, the greatest challenge of the child is the unlived life of the parent. So this kind of generational trauma, I guess, it's infectious. We just pass it on, and we change it, metamorphosizes into something a little different. So the generation, they've got some serious challenges. We have no idea the effect of AI. We have no idea the effect of 24/7 internet. We have no idea the effect of social media. They are the experimental generation, and we'll see, and they have to live the results. So I have a lot of empathy for them. I'm like you, who apparently want to line them up and one by one shoot them and push them in a ditch, maybe with an empty bottle of Old Crow and a bag of lime.
Maybe just give them all a bottle
I don't know if they can handle
Crow.
Old Crow, man.
Just give them Old Crow.
Maybe.
I think
this is a helicopter moms. This is a great story. So in my civilian career, it's mostly administrative. And in the interest of not throwing that organization under the bus, I'll keep it to myself. We are explicitly rated for a reason. Anyway, I got an email, and there was a medical student who had rotated through with us. And this mom emails me asking me how I was going to rate this student for the school. And I just more out of curiosity ended up engaging with this mom because I thought this is so weird. I have to take it to its end. Well, I have got to take it to its end state. I got to find out how this plays out. And, it was a kind of prototypical tiger mom who really wanted her child to become a psychiatrist. As it plays out, the mom has some mental illness, has been treated by many psychiatrists, feels like not only is it a good financial opportunity for this child, but I got the sense, again, that the unlived life of that mother was basically this experience with psychiatrists, so that she wanted her son to become a psychiatrist so much. And the curious thing is, in talking to the kid, a young man, lovely young man, by the way, he just shrugs his shoulders and he's like, I'm sorry. I don't even know what to say about it. But between you and I want to be a urologist.
You just took him by the face like Billy Madison, and you were just like, run.
Anyway, it was an experience. We, So it's our fault, not their kids.
No, absolutely. And that is exactly why I wanted to bring this up. To come out and say, oh, it's this generation's fault that they were coddled. It's not their fault that they were coddled. It is the generation that raises them that coddles them. Right? You don't ask to be coddled when you're a kid. This is what happens. But I also don't want to put it squarely on the shoulders to say, well, all of Gen X and all of the other millennials, well, they're all... No, I mean, there was a reason that happened, right? Like there was a path that got them to that point to think this was probably the best way. We did this out of love. We did this with a goal in mind. It just didn't work, or at least it hasn't been super effective from what we can tell, or at the very least, those of us who aren't, we're maybe kind of annoyed by it to some extent.
I mean, some of it is still pending, right? But I think if your viewpoint, going back to nihilism, if your viewpoint is that like things are going to shit, right? Nothing matters, or it's really, really hard out there, then whatever you can do to make sure that there's more success for your child is probably makes sense, right? Like you need to be more active because otherwise it's not going to work. And I think that mindset somehow, even though at what fundamental level you might say, okay, well, what does it even matter, right? If you're really getting into that, right? If the world's going to end because computers will take over the world, then what does it matter if they got an A in English? And Rob, just to get back briefly to your anecdote, maybe that young man knew something, because I'll tell you, when I did my interviews for med school and residencies, man, the urologists were all so happy. I didn't know a single unhappy one, so maybe he had something.
Why not? Yeah. Vasectomies all day, every day. Take it to the bank. I've left David speechless. It looks like he had something. And then I said vasectomy, which if I was sitting in a psychotherapy environment with you right now, that pause that you did, I would be real curious about the conversations happening at home about vasectomy.
I'm reading my notes, jackass.
It's just trauma.
I'm reading my notes.
Okay.
Reading my notes. But to tie this together, it's not. It isn't necessarily. Yeah, please do. I'll try what I can. Not unlike a vasectomy. I'm going to tie the ends so that we can stop this mess.
That's nice. You really
continuing on. Yeah, I want to really. Yeah, right.
I see what you did there.
End this. Yeah. No. No. The reason I bring it up, and the reason we bring it up during the nihilism talk, is that just what you said. You have this generation that was brought up in this environment where you had the parents who were trying so hard to get them to be successful because they really saw a bleak outlook, right? Things have become much more competitive in the workplace, in college. It's tough out there. Now you have this generation who's also feeling those pressures, but at the same time, they're getting that double whammy of never really having felt it before because their parents were protecting them from it. That nihilistic viewpoint, which we are seeing from Gen Z, just like Rob was talking about before.
Absolutely.
Right? That's why I want to pull it back around and really apologize to Gen Z wholeheartedly.
Please be our listeners, even though you're barely of drinking age.
I am terrified. As a millennial, I am terrified of Gen Z. Have you ever seen TikTok? It is a scary, scary place.
Oh, it's terrible.
They're mean. They're as mean to millennials as we are to the boomers, right? Like, we got to be careful.
It's interesting, though, that they have found some efficacy, some self-efficacy in those environments. We're criticizing them for their lack of self-efficacy in, say, the work environment or the school environment or whatever, because we've coddled them. They have found their efficacy there, and they're really effective in that environment. I can disagree with them, and normally do. Time is a strange thing, and age is a strange thing that changes one's perspective. But that is their universe. That worries me. But yes, so TikTok is, in my mind, it's a shit show from start to finish. It's a dumpster fire. But maybe the strongest steel is forged in a dumpster fire. Maybe.
I can't wait till our next bonus episode when you come back and apologize to TikTok for what you just said. We're gonna have just a string of episodes of apologizing for the shit we said for a previous. No, but
I'll never apologize to TikTok.
He says that now. He says that now. No, you really do bring up a really great point, which is that we're looking at a generation that our viewpoint, because we're not in it, we're going to look at it and say like they're coddled. And by the way, that when I say they're coddled, I said it in the last episode, was coming from the book The Coddling of the American Mind by Jonathan Haidt, right? Like that is
You're blaming him.
That was where
I get it. You're not responsible.
I'm going to
direct quotation.
All of that. Yeah, I'm going to deflect.
Jonathan Haidt, absolutely. It's his fault. Next week,
to have this
apologize
generation,
to Jonathan Haidt.
If we could get him on here, that'd be fantastic. He would probably be. No, just like all generations, we look at him, we say, oh, well, they have it so much easier, and I think we can all agree they have it easier in some ways, but my God, they have it so much harder. And the truth is, well, we're sitting back and complaining about, as you just said, the way that they're handling the things that we typically do. The way that we would handle a certain environment. They don't do it the way that we do it, but what they are forging is a totally different path in this completely different world that we're not used to. And I said this, it was, I think, our first episode, where I had a lot more confidence in these younger generations' ability to manage technology because they're growing up with it. And that's exactly what I meant. It's hard for us to see, like, how could there be value in that? Well, it's probably going to be there at some point. And so I have a lot of hope. There's still a lot of nihilism in that, in the older
wish in
Gen
one hand
Zs.
and shit in the other, and tell me which one fills out quicker. But yeah,
the older Gen Zs, they still definitely have the outlook of jobs and housing, a lot of those things. It's really the younger Gen Z that's been doing phenomenally well online that has really figured this out. There's that gap, just like there is in any generation. Like the elder millennials are a lot different than the younger millennials.
They're going to take care of us in our old age.
Somebody's got to wipe my ass.
Yep, we'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
I mean, later tonight, after I've had 9 more of these. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I mean, in my older age.
Daddy, wake
when
up.
I'm your age.
Right, yeah. So, interestingly, our part 2 of nihilism, we have yet to even touch on it.
A little bit. We've tapped it.
Yeah, we said the word. So nihilism is kind of like the bicycle man from Different Strokes. No, actually, not even at all. No, one of the things that I really wanted to come back to, because we use the term a lot, we defined it, but I don't think I made it utterly clear that it's not just despair. It's also sarcasm and detachment and burnout. It's apathy, political apathy. It's the ironic memes and the toxic movements that we see. That are our manifestations that we live in a post-belief world. There is no such thing as absolute truth any longer. The manifestations of that, and what I'm mostly concerned about, specifically maybe most concerned about in the Gen Z, I think the whole generation are being primed to be nihilistic and apathetic and sarcastic and detached. And they probably have to be somewhat detached because, my gosh, if you had us for parents, what's the alternative? I mean, you got to detach a little bit. It would be terrible. So that was one point that I wanted to absolutely make sure we touched on.
And the other thing is, right, the environment there is things are going to hell, right? Global warming, doom scrolling, like the whole insidious invention of this ability to never stop seeing stuff, right, as you're scrolling on a page, and all of it is sensationalism, and it's catered towards particular algorithms, right? There was something recently regarding how the algorithms that are prevalent in pretty much any social media sites and news sites as well, right? If you're going to any TikTok especially is well known for its algorithms that cater specifically to what makes you happy, right? And so if reading about scary stuff like the war in Ukraine makes you unhappy, you will not see it. To the point where certain areas, you just have no idea what you're missing. So if you're only seeing cat videos and that's your entire world of the news around you, you have a very different outlook on society. Now, maybe that's protecting you from some of that negative stuff, but what's it doing in terms of your ability to actually tolerate some of that distress or have open communications and discussions? And then what happens when you realize something really interesting happened last year that might impact me, but I guess I just have to accept it now because I had no idea it was happening and couldn't even discuss it or talk to my parents or even maybe go out and vote against it or for it, right? The lack of awareness of what's out there, and part of it is maybe exacerbated, right? Because for me personally, I can tell you that I am not interested in viewing some of the more mainstream news media because it's no longer news, in my opinion. If you're avoiding that, then certainly the bits and pieces that actually do make sense, that are actually important, never get filtered through. And then that feeds into what we talked about before. Is that a coddling of the mind, of not hearing anything negative, not hearing anything controversial, not hearing stuff that makes you uncomfortable, not even being informed enough to have discussions on topics that you want to say, hey, like, what is this about? That doesn't make any sense. Why are people doing this? And it all just feeds into not caring or thinking that I don't need to know this because what's the point anyway?
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective because you're right. We live in a time where you have access to global information 24/7, more than at any point in time in humanity. And there's simultaneously this ability to completely remove yourself. It's not something that is maybe even driven by that person, right? It's something that's driven by the algorithms that's goal is to just get eyes on, and it's driven by what's going to just get you to keep looking at it. And it's driven by money, right? It's driven by ad revenue. But you also have this expectation that people will have that information, right? Like you're walking around thinking, well, it's in my pocket, so everyone must be aware, but they don't have your algorithm.
Here's the funny thing, David. Despite all of this, even if we say, hey, you are curating what you're seeing to weed out what's making you unhappy, we already know that the more time you spend on social media, the more depressed you are. The rates of depression, anxiety, mental health stuff is the highest in our latest generations compared to our older ones. Part of it might be because there's also a much more acceptance of seeking mental health in Gen Z and Gen Alpha right after that. There's less of a stigma because it's one of those things where, hey, someone's doing it, so why don't I do it, right? It's almost like I'm missing out. So there might be some FOMO and some other things left in there as well. But so there's less stigma in terms of getting that. But we know for a fact that the rates of depression don't get any better by looking at someone else's beautiful life and vacation photos compared to your own. It just gets worse and worse. So none of that is actually helping in terms of making healthier, more, well, definitely not more well-adjusted adults.
Well, and that was another quote I wanted to clarify, that when you lack meaning, you seek pleasure. In the context of the way I presented it, I was talking about everything's a crisis, so the mental health crisis. But realistically speaking, the percentages have increased over the last decade, from 15 or 16%, and we're over 20% now. So there is more mental illness. I was not referencing the pleasure with that. I was thinking more along substance use, which we have certainly seen opiates, currently methamphetamine in most places around the nation. Ironically, alcohol, COVID. Here we. Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Drink to that one. During COVID, absolutely, there became this kind of wine. And I think we were locked away, and we probably did imbibe a little too much. But also the kids call it doom scrolling. I don't know if they're actually, given what you just said, it's probably not doom scrolling. It is probably that the algorithm is slowly drifting them toward things that are much more palatable to them, more comfortable, fun, cat videos, whatever. That is a defense against nihilism. It is meaningless. I mean, they're not going to find additional meaning through that scroll, but it is a way to distract oneself from the fear of meaninglessness.
Well, I think it goes both ways, because for the doom scrolling aspect, if you click on it, because that's the other aspect, right? There are some algorithms that know that the more negative a story is and the more outrageous the claims are, the more likely you are to click and read. Mm-hmm. And then if you click on one, then they're going to get another one. And I think it does work both ways. And I think for some, they might say next, right? Swipe next and find something else, versus others might just get stuck. And then really the end result is, what can you really do? It seems pretty hopeless. Everything is like this. And that kind of feeds into that mentality of the world is not going to be okay, and what can I do about it? And I was looking at some of the quotes, as part of this, and looking at prevalence, not necessarily lifetime, but just prevalence for the last couple of years. 65% of Gen Z had a mental health struggle in the past 2 years. A striking number.
Wow.
And how many millennials? 51%. Still high, but a little bit better. And 29% of Gen X. So, I mean,
David just raised his hands like he won something there.
Still 50%. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Take that.
Yeah.
Take that, Gen X. Right. Your piddly 29%, mental health crises.
That's right.
We're too damn tough for mental health crises, I guess.
You're You just
What
don't say anything
concerns
about it.
me, and this is utterly observational, so observing my kids, is that it's not that the danger to me is not that they don't believe in anything, it's that they don't really believe that anything's worth fighting for. That scares me for them and us as a society. And we're not going to do a video on this, but if we were, you would watch my microphone slowly but surely start to fall. Oh, this is great radio right here. This
Yeah,
is
I'm loving watching that.
oh yeah, for a completely audio.
For the audience, use your imagination. Right? Like
Yeah.
that's the beauty of radio,
Oh,
right?
you're gonna hear all the clicks and twists and
What is
no.
happening?
Oh, I am really I'm driving the struggle bus right now, but I'm just gonna hold it. We're gonna make it through this. There's something worth fighting for.
Such
But
adversity, you're so
yeah,
resilient around.
no doubt. No doubt. I'm a Gen Xer. We're resilient.
Only 29%, ill health in the past 2 years, so you're good. You're good.
And as a child an analyst, psychiatrist, I do want to pose a question because I find myself a little torn. On one hand, seeking mental health treatment, I don't, at my core, do not think there's anything wrong with that. But what I guess I have found is an incredible number of folks who fall well into the normal category, who are seeking it more as a solution to avoid the discomfort of life. I'll use this example because it's fresh on my mind from yesterday. The individuals who come into me because they want to play video games all night Friday, sleep all day Saturday, play video games all day Sunday. Anyway, weekends are dedicated to basically becoming nocturnal and playing video games. And then they have to get up really early on that Monday, and they come into me because they say, oh, I have terrible insomnia. No, they don't. They've got a terrible schedule, but they want a solution that doesn't involve actual change
Or work.
and or work or effort. And I guess I worry about that because I do find, the kids come to me posing these questions about their own mental health based on what they've seen on TikTok. There's apparently 70 different types of ADHD that explains every single thing that's going wrong in your life. And it doesn't feel exactly healthy to me. And I guess I'm curious from your standpoint.
I see two things. I see one, I do see a significant discrepancy in what the parents or the family is noticing and reporting to me versus what the child might be reporting in terms of what they think is a problem. And there's sometimes a big disconnect. And in those cases, typically what's happening is that the parents are noticing the actual dysfunction and the things that are actually are causing problems. And if I have families that are pretty engaged, then usually we can make some headway. But the problem there is that the insight level is very limited and it's focused on, hey, I don't see a problem. My problem is that my parents are on my case, or that I can't sleep until 9 or 10 or 11. Why is school so early? Right? That becomes more of an issue. The other thing I see sometimes is mental health, especially getting medications, especially things like stimulants, becomes almost like a boutique thing, right? Like Janie's doing it and Bob's doing it and my friends are doing it. They're getting A's and I'm only getting A minuses. So I think, there's something wrong. And because I'm not getting good grades, now I'm depressed and so forth and so on. There's not real pathology there per se. It's more about boosting function and fear of missing out and competition more so than actual need for any services, right? Or any actual care. But they're coming in, there's some distress. Now, I think what's complicated a lot of this is their response, which feeds into the nihilism, right? What's happening is the pandemic. The pandemic response and the delayed response from that, ongoing issues, concerns about the world, and the decreased socialism, right? The decreased ability to interact with people, that has had some lasting repercussions on a lot of the kids. And so that's where sometimes you need to do a little bit of catching up. And if nothing else, it's getting a little bit better now, the further away we are from the worst of it since the vaccines came out. But it was very difficult for kids to not have socialization and then get back into socialization. And then the world looks different. They're developmentally 2-3 years older, and the ability to interact, especially with the opposite gender, the expectations going from virtual classes to now suddenly being in college and you have no one looking over you. All those things also have caused significant changes and distress. And so some of those factors have also made for a little bit of a confounding effect. But I do notice that the younger generation definitely feels like, and maybe it's TikTok, maybe it's the other social media saying, hey, I went to my therapist and blah, blah, blah. I think that probably does make an impact on the openness of at least going to those appointments. And then it's probably, it's part of our job to kind of work that through and say, hey, like, okay, what is really the crux of the problem and what really can you actually be helped with versus, hey, like, this is actually normal. Like, we don't want to pathologize normal reaction. It's okay to be distressed sometimes.
And maybe, thank you for that, because maybe it just talked me right back into, I was thinking, gee, you guys need to learn how to swallow some of these emotions, push them down real deep where they become stomach cancer.
Spoken like a true Gen Xer.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, you just push it down and push it down. And no, realistically speaking, the opportunity to engage and help them gain some sense of twinship, some sense of I am more alike other people than I am different from other people is valuable. That's valuable. And, maybe my experience tells me that most people aren't very receptive when I'm like, yeah, it's kind of normal. Do you really think you can stay up all night Friday and all night Saturday and then sleep on Sunday? I don't think that works that way. They're usually mad at me because I'm not meeting their immediate need, but maybe
you're a real doctor.
Exactly. Right. But I told you I have insomnia. And there are medicines for that. Please give me one. But
your bedside manner is just
yeah, it's like
chef's kiss.
Can't suck it up, man. But anyway, maybe the value is the engagement, giving them a realistic expectation, and they'll take that with them and they'll hear it multiple times and it'll finally click.
One can only hope, right? One can only hope. I mean, sometimes, it is a matter of, as long as they have some sensible adults in their life or older, generation in their life, sometimes it is a matter of hearing it from different perspectives that helps, as opposed to, they don't know what they're talking about. Right, because they're my parents or whoever.
For the record, I'm not quite as brutal as I might sound like I am. There's a baseline level of
you're a pussycat. Get out of here.
Yeah,
you're not,
I am.
You are.
Here's in terms of nihilism. Here's something, or at least our approach to this. That here we are cherry picking the ills of generations, the ills of the nation. It's something that I was doing a little reading, and I have this will surprise you to no end, David. I have a book where I have collected quotes since I was about.
Holy shit! Yeah. How many drinks is that?
Yeah, since I was about 16, so I can actually go back and see my handwriting from when I was a wee lad.
I do want to ask, like, has that collection of who you get quotes from changed? Like, did it used to be like rock stars and then turn into, like other influencing people?
Yeah, actually, I didn't write it. I read a book when I was really young. I think it was called the Illuminati Trilogy or something.
That sounds familiar.
And as it turns out, I mean, the book was insane, no doubt about it, but it was, conspiracy theory and all this.
Yeah.
However, it was sprinkled beautifully with some quotes that I felt at 16 that these are worthwhile things. These are things that I should remember. So I started scribbling them down, and I, it's not the same book. I've taken it and recopied multiple times. In fact, I've got it right here. I can show it to you. I carry it with me. There's a quote, there always is, but be careful when you cast out your demons that you don't throw away the best of yourself. So we're cherry picking based on our perspective, our vantage point on our life. And we're saying this needs to change or that needs to change. They should stop doing this. Don't come asking for medications if you're up all night playing video games, whatever. But gosh, what if we're wrong? What if it turns out the Gen Zers are the most successful generation of all time and it all worked? It was all perfect. And here we are telling them.
No doubt they will be, at least during their time. And I do mean that because the truth is, as a millennial, no, they will. As a millennial, we got nothing but shit for the longest time until it was our time. Everyone despised millennials until Gen Z showed up, and then we got shit all over them. It's been amazing.
David, having known you for a very long time, you're not really a millennial.
But I am.
No,
But
you're Gen X.
Okay,
You've got a Gen X sensibility. Trust me on this.
Okay,
I've known you for a long time.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like, millennials got shit on until Gen Z showed up and started demanding that professors not give certain lectures in college because it was damaging to their mental health to hear a perspective that they didn't want to hear. Then millennials got let off the hook, and now Gen Z is getting theirs. But the truth is, of course, Gen Z is going to be incredibly successful because they're going to do it. Like, they're going to do all the things that we've talked about.
They have to be.
AI is this amazingly powerful tool that once they get on board with it fully, which a lot of them have, they're already there. Once they realize how much more productive they can be with it, they're not going to be whining about, well, I don't get an entry-level job, because they're going to be well past that point. They're going to be rock stars at these much better jobs. Like, that's just how it's going to be. We're going to be sitting back going like, this isn't fair. How is it that this guy is seeing 49 patients every half a day and still golfing 18 holes when all I can rip out in my entire day is 20? This is bullshit. And he's like, because AI is doing all of my writing. Like, I go in, I see him, I talk to him. I got 15 minutes. It's solid. I'm great.
Give AI a microphone in your office, AI access to that microphone.
Yes.
You talk to the patient, AI then consolidates what you've talked about.
That already happened. That already exists. Wow. But that's what I'm saying is
it's a brave new world.
You see where Gen Z is going to kick our asses, and this is our last stand to sit here and like give them shit because they're not old enough and they're not listening to us. They're playing on TikTok right now. But once they get out of their parents' basement and they start doing the work, because they will, just like every generation has, they have to, they're going to hand it to us. And we're going to be pissed off because they are just like every boomer doc was mad that we switched to EMRs, electronic medical records. They were mad they had to put it in. I still hear it when I talk to them. They're pissed off that they have to use this goddamn EMR. I don't know how this thing works. I'm like, well, it works pretty easily. I talk to Gen X docs who, I have to stay late in this. I've never stayed late a day in my life because of an EMR. I promise you that. Like, it's very easy if you know how to type quickly.
You're atypically lazy.
Yeah, I can type quick because I'm the computer guy. God damn it, because I'll write a program that can make it easier. But if I had the AI skills that this generation will absolutely have, I'd be right there with them, kicking ass too. But they're going to, like, clearly.
So let me bring this back then to nihilism, since that was the stated intent. And I'm going to bring it back to the bicycle man from Different Strokes. No, I'm not. I'm not. It's just totally on my mind now because I cannot believe they did a 30-minute sitcom episode dedicated to. I just can't. I can't believe it. And it's a testament to only having 3 channels. No one could turn. I mean, there was like, what am I going to watch?
We're going to watch it.
Battle of the Network Stars. You know, I've seen the guy from Wild Wild West.
Guess we're going to watch these kids get raped. That's what's going to happen.
Well, thankfully they did not. It was not explicit. The highest level was that the little best friend was shirtless. But at any rate, let's move beyond that. Damn it. I just talked myself out of my own point. I don't.
So there was a discussion before about the chicken and the egg with nihilism. Mm-hmm. Is it the thing you're trying to avoid, or is it where you get to? It's both. It really is. It's that fight to stay away from it, but there's also the falling into it and then getting out of it, and then falling into it and getting out.
That was my point, actually. Thank you for stimulating my brain, my old brain.
Those GABA receptors are being
this generation, they will find their thing, and their thing will likely
better not be a bicycle. Better not be a bicycle shop.
It probably won't involve a bicycle shop. Their thing is going to be the same thing that we have always fallen back to. Our kids, the desire to take care of them, to raise them, to give them a better life. They're going to be interesting parents, I think. You know, this is America on the couch, and certainly Gen Z is part of that. I still find myself flummoxed or concerned about the general nihilism that extends out beyond just this generation. That Gen X, the baby boomers, each generation has a reason to not feel like there's a whole lot of meaning, that everything's subjective, that there's it's not that it's meaningless, although one could argue that they are feeling like it's meaningless. You turn on the news, and if it does not resonate with you, you just disregard it. Doesn't matter how real it is, doesn't matter how objectively provable it is, you disregard it because we're a post-meaning society. Someone help me with that. How do we navigate that, or are we just waiting for meaning? Are we waiting for an existential war? Are we waiting for some crisis that we can all get behind because the alternative is to die?
It doesn't have to be anything universal. You can find meaning in something extremely absurd. My mission in life, because nothing else matters, is to make sure I wear the most absurd socks or the best matching socks possible. Maybe that is your meaning that gives you a purpose. And you say, take that world, I will find meaning.
Well, and that's the solution. I mean, finding some meaning is the solution. But as a nation, if the nation is on the couch right now, how do we navigate? And I got 52 years. So it's not like I have that much time, but I have 52 years. And I certainly can say that from the point when I was young, and this is always also going to be colored by go ahead and make fun of the way I say colored, David. Go ahead. Colored. It's going to be colored by the phase of my life and the factors in my life. But there were things that were meaningful much of my life. And at this point, it is much more of a struggle. We're ridiculously polarized. It is difficult to get behind for those of us in the exhausted middle, regardless of where you fall on the spectrum in the middle. I mean, the middle is a pretty broad spectrum. It is difficult to get behind anything. Like right now, it seems everyone's behind Jeffrey Epstein, which kills me. Actually, I find of all the things that will mean nothing
better than
to
being
us,
in front of him.
But we need that. We need a.
Oh, I should have said better than him being behind you. God damn it.
Yeah, I got you. I understood. But isn't it? I mean, fascinating how the things that are taking up the space are things that actually don't mean much of anything. In 50 years, no one will remember who Jeffrey Epstein was.
What's the reason? I understood at a certain point, why there was such an interest in what's going on and what's the conspiracy and who are the people who are also doing all these things with him. And then at a certain point, I mean, obviously, he was arrested, died, or was killed in jail. But going back to it now, to that conspiracy, right? Like there's something more. We're not being told. There was a big push to figure out what was behind this, and suddenly there's something juicy in there. So now they're saying, no, we can't reveal what's in there. So it all turns into hey, there's something more there. We deserve to know there's a conspiracy. It can unite certain groups. And I think that's part of that unification of, hey, like we all need to know because certainly there's something that we know is out there that is being hidden and we are deprived. And I think that's uniting people, but not necessarily in a way that's useful. Is that constructive? Is that something that's helping the nation? Is it helping further things along? No, not really.
Well, it is curious that at its core, it goes back to child abuse, that people are behind this idea of protecting the children, which is fine. It has given meaning to many, many lives. In fact, usually it's on the microscopic scale. It's usually, I need to protect my kids, these kids. For a lot of these folks, it's expanded and it's become a conspiracy theory.
I think part of it is definitely the core is that, but I think you've also smashed in people now who say, hey, we know these people are evil, right? Insert whatever parties or whatever people. And we know there's evidence and we want this information so they can be punished. Yeah. And you're putting in those people into this mixture as well. Not just the people who say, hey, like this is terrible and like we need to put a stop to this. And if there are people abusing children or there's other, rings or whatnot, things going on, that should be stopped, that's thrown in there as well. And so I think it just hits a whole bunch of different groups that want slightly different things. And some of it is maybe for more altruistic reasons, and some of it is just for we need some more chaos and we need to punish some people or take some people down. Because I know the other party members are behind it. They need to be taken down. You guys talk about sort of your prescriptions that the kind of what you can take. We haven't really talked about it much. I think one of the things that might I think might be interesting for us to kind of look at is really what makes our nation tick. And I think one of our topics for the future potentially might be psychology behind the nation, behind the republic, behind the American experiment, kind of where it started, where it is now. But one thing I think about is it seems like a lot of engagement right now by people is about what helps your bottom line. Do I save on taxes? Do I retain my job? Does this help something in my family? There's no longer a drive to look at, hey, what benefits the nation as a whole? And I think maybe some parts to this, but it's not a universal thing. I would ask, if you have to do something, think about a policy that might benefit somebody else that you think is worthwhile. Maybe your neighbors, maybe your elderly parents, maybe your friends who may not be in the same position as you. Are you backing any policies, whether it's activism, whether it's laws, whether it's bills, right? Whether it's putting some support for something that actually doesn't benefit you directly, but you think is a beneficial thing for the nation to have, or for might help other people who might be less fortunate than you? Can you do that? Are you doing anything like that?
Something that I keep coming back to is our social and economic cycles. And at the cusp of the last economic cycle, John Kennedy famously said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, David. I got the wink from David saying, yep, you're on track.
It's time to drink.
Yeah.
Quote time.
Oh, yeah, quote. And it does. I absolutely concur with you. We are at an interesting point in which the individualism that is part and parcel of the nation since its inception, but has fluctuated. And there are times where we are much more selfless. We are at a point where selflessness is critical, is crucial. What can I do for my nation? And I'll expand that out. And this is another thing that I keep coming back to is what can I do for my local community? What can I do to help my neighbor, truly help my neighbor?
Yes.
And that's a way we can find meaning. And I suppose that's going to be my prescription as well. David, we're over time, so I'm leaving it to you to just wrap this up into a bow.
I'm going to give you a serious prescription because I usually don't get to because everyone.
No, well, you're ridiculous.
I know I am ridiculous, and I'll do one too. But when it comes down to nihilism, in a way to potentially combat that, especially in today's environment, because what we're seeing so much of is that group of people who are becoming very disengaged. Our algorithms are making it so possible to become that. That while that can serve that purpose to not want to hear all the bad noise, what it doesn't do is help you to understand what's actually happening in your world. So my prescription would be to find a way to still be engaged. You don't have to seek out the worst of the worst news sources, but don't just look for cat videos. When you find yourself spending an hour on TikTok and you haven't seen a single source of news and you don't know what's actually going on around you, that's disengagement. Even though the world can be scary, to not be part of it, it can be actually a lot scarier. So find many news sources. Don't stick to one, whether you're on the far right, the far left. Look for different sources. Don't just look for bias. Don't just look for what helps you feel good. Go and figure out what's happening in the world around you to help you become more engaged. Be a community member. That's one prescription. Now, the silly one would be for the Gen Zers, who I love and am terrified of, 30-day TikTok cleanse. All right?
Absolutely.
Just turn off
Starting
TikTok.
September 17th, possibly.
Just turn off TikTok. Turn it off. Mandatory journaling on actual paper. They do sell that still, okay? So you can find actual paper. It's made.
Do you know how expensive that is?
You're not going to believe me. Out of trees. They make paper from trees. I know. It's crazy.
Stunning.
Yeah, it's crazy. But if you do that and you write down your thoughts and your feelings, and just do that with a pen or a pencil, you can do that. Before we go, I just want to share what I thought was actually a really sweet Facebook comment that Lance on Facebook sent us a nice little message. It says, take your quote, nihilism, spelled incorrectly, Nilism, end quote, take your nihilism and fuck off, all caps. So I just thought we should share that lovely comment. Thank you, Lance. Lance, I know you're listening.
Thank you, Lance.
And I just want to say thank you. That was really sweet.
I do too, because I'm sure it was one of my quotes. So
thanks for taking the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lance.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking time to type.
I really appreciate it. Very sweet. Lovely sentiment.
Yeah. No, stay engaged, Lance. Seriously. And I'm not being facetious, even remotely. Stay engaged, keep sending us messages, and keep listening.
I actually will respond to him and let him know that if he chooses to listen to, I mean, I wish he would. The truth is, I think a lot of the comments, so for anybody who does comment on Facebook or any of our socials, so we are Shrink the Nation. We are on
smash that
subscribe button on your favorite streaming platforms, whatever you're listening to right now.
Yeah.
We'll go through and we will try to respond. Like if we see it, we'll try to, respond. We do like it when people engage. Like the truth is we'll get far right comments. We'll get far left. It doesn't matter. We're not focused on that. I mean, if you listen to what we're talking about, it is not about partisanship stuff at all. We're talking about the psychology of it. We're talking about what we can do about these other things. And so we'd love to get ideas from people if they have any particular topics that they want to hear about, if they have questions, if they have wonderful suggestions, like things we can do, like
good bourbons.
We'd love to hear it. So, and if any bourbon distilleries would like
or
to
Ryan
send us
Reynolds.
some bourbon, yes. If any bourbon distilleries want to send us some bourbon,
it's a good
to
one.
have us sample and talk about, I would happily try. So, but our email is socials@shrinkthenation.com. So hit us up, and thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate your insight.
No doubt.
We're gonna have you back. Yeah, if we'd love to have you back at some point. So
let me just put in one real quick thing before you finish. For the sake of activism and finding news that you may not hate, app called Boring. That's all it's called.
What?
Boring, as in boring news. All it does is it takes news headlines and uses AI to remove all the negative politicized, like biases and views to make it very neutral and facts only. So if you want some sanitized news sources, Boring.
I will download that immediately.
That's great. Any source where you can just stay engaged in your community with other people. So that's it. We're gonna anything else? No? All right. We're gonna roll that
music, my man.
It's going. That's going. All right. Thank you so much. And until next time. All right.
We're out.